Hello, this is the third video of Chapter 7 lecture about leisure geography, and we are gonna start to talk about the second topic of leisure as a place. So the chapter talk about the place being, more of an emotional, subjective experience of the place, right, for human beings. When you think about the place, for example, I will ask you to think about your home. Right? Wherever you feel home. You don't necessarily think about just how wide it is, how much space it is, right? How many stories, levels there is, how many people are in it, and all that kind of objective information, physical aspect. You also think about memories. Maybe it's the home that you were born in, and you missed the price. You remember that, and your parents scolded you, and that you remember that. Or maybe your parents did a barbecue in the backyard, and then you remember the smell of the barbecue, maybe, or the taste of the barbecue, right? So that's what we call the sense of a place. The place is not just to remember it as a physical, objective, dry thing, but it's really, really human experience that's subjective, and that involves a lot of our senses, actually, right? The 5 senses. For example, visual, obviously, because it's a place, right? We can look at it. Some place, what place do you remember based on the visual experience of it? Maybe you've been to a beach and you saw a beautiful, beautiful sunset. And it just got stuck in your head. You can still remember that. Or the smell. The barbecue example, barbecue in the backyard is a good example for that. Or Disney. Disney actually uses different kinds of smell, like popcorn or gunpowders, those kind of things, to make customers, clients feel like they're in those places, such as, Magic Kingdom or the Pirates of Caribbean thingy, whatever that is. They do. Smell is actually very powerful. Kinesthetics, like you can touch thing, right? You can feel like a cold, pain, and all that kind of thing in your bodily experiences. That's another thing. Texture. Audio. You were in a certain place that was very, very peaceful, quiet. The bird was chirping, singing, and you were just remembering that. Or again, the ocean, and some people really love hearing that sound of the waves come and go. What about taste? We don't really talk about taste actually in this context, but I remember a lot of places that I traveled to by this taste of the food that I got, whatever the fancy food may be, but also like a local street food. Some of them are really, really good, tasty. Some of them are really, really bad. I mean, to me, not good to me. And I still remember that taste. For example, when I went to China, there's something called stinky tofu. Tofu, but it's stinky, and it's really, really stinky. And that was not a good experience. But I still remember that place as with that taste, definitely in my mind. And I sworn to myself that I'm not gonna have that anymore. Anyway, so we get a sense of place. Now, I'm going to share you some of the study that we did that relates to this sense of place, right? As I think I mentioned it earlier, we conducted some study of, actually Tom Hinch, who is a retired professor here, he conducted a study of Canadian death racers. So these are the people who participated in ultra marathon in which people run like 200 kilometers within 24 hours. Crazy, I know, extreme sport. And it happened in an area a town called Grand Cache, I think, Alberta. It is in a mountain area. So what we asked about, okay, could you take pictures, when they're doing something hard and serious? Could you take a picture of the places you feel like you're attached to? you felt really special. And we analyzed those interview and pictures basically. And it was interesting. A lot of people took a picture of what we call the vista, which is a visual experience, like seeing like 300-degree panorama, view from the top of the mountain, because there are 3 actually mountains involved in that ultra marathon. And that's visual experiences. That was very important to these death racers. Another very interesting thing is kinesthetic experience, because it's active sports tourism, right? So this person, participant in a picture, he was running, constantly climbing. His legs were on fire. It was tired, it was sweating, it was cramping maybe. And you realize, you look down and there's the snow. So he was like, oh, why don't I sit on it just a little bit and ice my feet? It's gonna feel good. And it felt good. And this is a picture of him struggling to stand up again, back on the feet again. But that feeling, right? Burning sensation in your feet because of running, climbing, and also like nice, very icy, chilly feeling when you sit on the ice. He would remember that for a long time and associate that with this particular mountain, the course, and the entire town and event as well. So it becomes important part of his sense of place. Now, geography has suggested that a lot of our quote-unquote spatial experience has moved on to online world. So it's a virtual geography. And this virtual geography has applications in education field, emergency management, agriculture, city planning, and tourism, and other kind of leisure activities. Chapter talk about maybe one of the most useful leisure example here is the virtual community of the Second Life game, the game called Second Life. I think you're a little young for this. Okay, it was kind of sensational. I think it was already 2000, around 2010-ish maybe, still pretty sensational. Basically, it's an open world type of game, and you created your own avatar, and you can earn the money that can be used in this game. And you can create a city or house and all that kind of stuff. You can definitely communicate with other people. You can meet different people. You can hang out with their, people if they play together too. You can go to different places. There's a Tokyo, there's a Paris in it too. So you can go to those more realistic places, but also you can create some really fancy places, very fantasy places as well. You basically live. The point of this game is living and interacting with people rather than like, shooting each other or something like that. But I think it's still old-fashioned. And more recently, though, people enjoy many what is called augmented reality, GPS, GIS games. And by that, I mean something like a Pokemon Go. How many of you guys played or still playing Pokemon Go? I would expect a lot of people going like, yep, right? I still see like on the right side of the picture, like outside, even in campus, sometimes they're just like wandering with the phone like this and a couple group other people together. They're playing Pokemon because I know when they do, this is Pokemon Go, right? And there's another one based on Harry Potter. It's called Harry Potter Wizards Unite. I think I played that actually once when it came out. I played like 3 weeks and I went up to like level 30. So it was pretty good actually. I spent a lot of time, and obviously my wife banned it from me playing. So I stopped playing, but it was fun. I can see how this can captivate a lot of people. And definitely there's a spatial component. We will experience, the campus, the part of the city that you would never go otherwise because there's something monster or, Pokemon monsters or some items that you have to get based on the games. So really affect our way of experiencing. Obviously, it's more interesting because it's not fully online. There's a mixture It's augmented reality. So there's a reality components to it too, but also there's online sort of components to it too. And we're going to talk about this GPS on augmented reality games later in the technology chapter. Now, in terms of leisure as a place, there are a few important concepts. And I'm going to talk about that in the next video. So I'm going to stop here and I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to see you in the next video.